Hello, welcome to Art in the Digital World. I'm your host, Brandon Towne. This week we have a guest named Jim Miller. He's going to be talking to us about all kinds of different things. Thank you for coming to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Yeah, thank you.
So tell me maybe a little bit about your history. You were telling me about some movies you made when you were kids.
I grew up where there were 25 kids in a block and we were all around the same age. So we had to be inventive to keep ourselves going. And one friend's father had a little 8mm camera, and he also had a wire recorder, which I'm now finding out nobody's ever heard of, but wire recorders were predecessors to tape recorders. So we'd make stupid little movies and then try to sync them up to the sound effects it would make on the wire recorder. And we had a ball. We just made movies all the time. And then, of course, we burned out on that and then moved on to something else. But that was my first introduction. And then the next one was really as a teacher using videotape to do animation, and then also Super 8mm at the time, which is not as easy as video is, of course, right? And then we moved up here and came along to one of Ed's classes and said, okay, I need to learn more than I know now. And from that, it led into doing our Star for a Day business, and then from that, Darren Knapp and I got together and started making short movies, and then we made our long movie. Well,
that's a lot.
Yeah, and but we've always done it for fun. It's always been a good time.
Cool.
You know.
Now, I have a couple questions about some of those. So the movies that you made, that you made when you were kids, what happened to those? Do you know where they are?
Actually, I just ran into one of the people that I did it with, and he said he believes they still have them, right? Because his father kept all the films, of the family films and stuff. So he said, I think they're still there. We'll take a look, right? And I said, well, good, let's turn them into video, and I want a copy, right? So I can't imagine what we all looked like at the time, but it would be fun to see, right?
That would be amazing to see, I'm sure.
Yeah, we grew up in a different time, Brandon. It was crazy. We did stuff. We didn't watch stuff, and some of the stuff we did didn't pay off too good, but it was okay. So.
Now, did you ever do photography or anything like that with film?
Nope.
No?
Nothing.
Nothing. Just motion pictures.
Just motion pictures.
Okay.
And then only because it was available, so we just decided that it was a fun thing to do, so we did it.
And when you did the film, did you develop it yourself, or you just send it out?
Oh, no, you sent it out.
Yeah.
It came back in the little tight rolls.
Wasn't
right?
like art school or anything?
No. It was a local drugstore, and then we had to try to splice things together with the tape and all that stuff. We weren't too good, but it was okay. We had fun.
Now, when you did the animation, you said you did video and film with animation?
Yeah, mostly film, mostly Super 8, and I had a Bolex camera that would focus down to very short range. And so, and I was teaching in a juvenile hall at the time, so it gave kids something to do where they could make animation with very limited access to things, right? And I still have those. And then we used the videotape for live action stuff. At another school, we did one. I'll never forget this one. It was great. 8th grader had a dirt bike, and he played the hare, and this other little roly-poly kid played the tortoise on a tricycle, right? And then we filmed it out in the salt flats of the Bay Area, and it came out really good. It was the tortoise and the hare, and of course the tortoise won. So those were the things that we did. And they were always done with kids. I had a kid that actually won a competition because I had a bunch of 7th graders that I had rebuild my Volkswagen engine. And this kid was not interested in doing that, but he was interested in videoing. So he videoed the whole thing and actually very primitively edited it and the whole deal, and people gave him an award for it.
Wow.
So it was really good.
Now, when you did that you said it was juvenile hall, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the film, having a project like that, helped the kids?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. When I was teaching juvenile hall, Brandon, I had the entire elementary school, which you never think of as being a juvenile hall, right? But I had kids as young as 8. And in those days, they were status offenders. They were kids that had run away or were truant or were incorrigible. They weren't particularly criminals. But, they were locked up. And they were, so anything that would give them a diversion and get them involved, they were real happy with, And those kids all kept their films,
And how easy was it to teach them how to do the stuff?
when you have a captive audience, it's amazing how attentive they are, right? They were wonderful. They picked it up right away. They had no complaints. And really, they only just had to click the single frame button, 16 times for each second or whatever it was, each minute. I can't remember now. But no, they did great jobs. Some of them did, drawing. Some of them did claymation. They did all sorts of stuff. So it was fun.
My experience with animation is it requires a lot of patience.
Oh.
So I can't imagine a class of juvenile students, but I guess,
They were absolutely focused on it, and they liked it, and so, you know what, they did a good job. They did a really good job, right?
And so then you went to do you did some video stuff. Now, when you transitioned to video, what was that like, having worked with film so much, or not so much, but having worked with
no
film before?
splicing, right? No sending it out to the lab, right? None of that. It was instantaneous, and those were the days of the big VHS, and it was a really big, thick tape. When you talk technical questions, I say things like, yeah, that was the wide tape, right? It's like, I don't remember anything more than that. But it was wonderful because you were self-contained. You didn't have to do anything. And we didn't have much in the way of editing, so what we'd do is we'd take it from one and video it to another one. Which I can't even remember how I ever got into that, but we'd just video. Actually, I had a box that had mirrors in it, and if you shot the video in one, I could turn the other video camera on at the other side of it and just capture the part that I wanted. A little crude, but it was fun.
Hey, it works.
It worked. It worked.
Now, when you did that, when you first got into video and VHS came out, did you think that the look of the video was not as good as film, or did that not really matter because of
No, it didn't matter at all. Yeah. It was. You know what? My problem, Brandon, is it's like I just like doing it. When it comes to the technical part of it, or the artistic part of the film, or whatever, the quality of the film, I'm pretty oblivious. I really am. It's like, oh, we could have done it that way. Oh, well, let's do it that way next time, right? I'm no good at that. Right?
Well, videos definitely opened up the ability for a lot more people to have access to it, who maybe never would have had access before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And most people, do the thing of like camera out the window of the car, and stuff like that all day long, right? And actually, I took a class one day, and they sent us out, a group of us out in the car, and everybody had X amount of time to do their film, right? And everybody else literally did that, the down the road camera at the front window and stuff like that. And I thought, that's boring, right? So we went to a field of growing grass, and I just played the game of people disappearing and appearing in different places in the grass, right? And I came back and these guys were saying, "See, that's really good." I said, "It is." I had no idea. It was just, I couldn't do the stuff out the window, right? That was too boring.
So after you doing some of that stuff, you came up here and you met Darren.
Met Darren, and Darren was making short films, and I was doing the Star for a Day, which is we're short films with people. In fact, that's what you're going to see, one that's like it today. And I used to go into treats for lunch. And one day Darren says, "Do you make movies?" I said, "Yeah." And we got talking, and I said, "Come on out." That was it. We've been working together for about, 6 years, 7 years. Wow. And, it works really well because what he's really good at, I'm terrible. I am terrible. And when he talks to me about all the technical stuff, it's like, oh yeah, sure. It's like, I get lost real quick.
Darren and I have had conversations that we've had to be like, okay, we need to stop and go on to do whatever we were trying to do an hour ago.
I'll tell you what, I love working with him. He's really, it's really fun. Yes.
So you have a movie that you guys made. It was one of the first things that you did. What's it called?
It's called The Duel.
Is there a setup for it, or do you want to watch it and we can talk about it afterwards?
I'll tell you what we did it for. There's a Encore Westerns channel that we decided they needed our short films, right? And I had the name of a guy back in Colorado who was part of it. So we thought, well, let's make a film and see if we can entice these guys into doing films of reenacting and and whatever else their audience wants to produce. We thought this was a great idea. Well, we still have the disc. It didn't go on the Westerns channel, right? But that was our motive for it. And the guy said, "Hey, it's really great, but we're not doing that. We just show old movies mostly, and I thought, well, you missed it, because if you could get your audience involved in it, and the reenacting groups that like to watch that channel a lot, if you could put some of their stuff on there, you'd have a bigger audience, right? Didn't mean much to them, right? But anyway, it's called The Duel.
Okay.
All right?
Well, I think if they're ready in the studio, let's go ahead and play The Duel.
You got it.
What'll it be, kid?
Whiskey.
Sure you wouldn't rather have sarsaparilla?
I said whiskey.
All right, whiskey it is.
Just pour it. Now I'm looking for a no good, dirty coward named T-Bone.
What for?
Doesn't matter now, does it?
No, he's right over there.
That's what I want. You know who I am? Well, I'm the fastest gun in Fiddletown. And when I kill you, I'll be the fastest gun in this territory.
Son, why don't you go back to Fiddletown and go fiddle with the devil, because that's where you're headed.
I could kill you in here or out there.
Son, why don't you go home and have some more of your mother's milk?
Nobody talks to me like that.
Boys, we're gonna take it outside and have ourselves a duel proper like. Head on out. Get up, old man. Alright, boys, now listen up. It just so happens that I've been educated in the Marquess of Queensberry rules of dueling. So what you'll do here is you'll stand out there in the middle of the street, back to back, take 10 paces in the opposite direction, turn, and fire.
I can't count to 10.
Neither can I.
Alright then, I'll count it off for you. 1, 3, 7, 9, 10. Okay, old man, come stand right here. One, 2, 5, 7, 10. Okay, young man, you come stand right here. All right, now when I count to 3, you fire. 1, 2. Oh, hold on. My wife. Hi, honey. Yeah, just a couple of yahoos trying to kill each other.
Yahoos!
Yeah, I'll be home in a little bit. You want some milk? Okay, and some eggs? All right. Okay, baby. Yeah, as soon as these idiots are done. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
I didn't want to shoot you today. I don't want to shoot you neither. Let's go and I'll buy you a drink. Okay? Hey, drinks are free. That's better yet. Oh, that's good. Let's go.
That's our goal.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was fun to do.
Yeah.
You know. So
tell me about that set. People would come out to do a video.
I'll tell you what. Every person who did it had the best time of their life, because the main thing is that we all grow up to be reserved and proper, and we forget how to play. So when people would come out, we'd have breakfast with them, and then get to know them, figure out what kind of characters they wanted to play, and then we'd take them and get them dressed up, and we'd take them down to the town, and we'd make them play. No scripts. And I'd say, here's the outline, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy, right? And you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do that. And so take it from there. And so people would be a little hesitant to begin with, and then they got into it. And then they got out of their own heads and got into the characters, right? In fact, one guy called me up 3 months later to get another disc made, and he said, "You've created a monster. My 55-year-old son is still calling himself Sheriff Colt," right? And one guy said, "It's the most fun I've had since I was 11 years old," because when people lose their inhibitions, they just have a ball. You know? So we had people from all over the world. We had people from Europe, and we had people from Asia, and they're much more into cowboys than we are. You know? So it was wonderful. It was a great time. As I said during the break there, the economy killed us, right? We're not doing that anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it served its purpose, and it worked as a set for our movie. So, you know, we're real happy with it.
And when you did those, how did you film it? Like, was there one person with a camera, or?
We would film. We tried to keep it to a minimum. At one point, we were shooting it with 3 cameras, right? And then we got down to 1, and but we didn't want to do a lot of takes because normally it was in the summer. It was pretty hot, right? And so we filmed as few takes as we could, and we got really good results from people. In fact, a number of the people that came out as guests were in our big movie, and you know, as volunteers, and they did really well. So in every group there was always at least one natural actor, you know? And the rest of the people, once you lose your inhibitions and you kind of get into the role, it's amazing what you can do, you know?
And so once they did the thing and you shot it, someone would edit it, and then they would get the DVD. Or?
We'd take them back up for lunch, and if we could talk them out of their costumes, we'd send them home, and then we'd edit it. And most of the time, Darren would do the editing, and we'd cut it down and add music to it, and credits and sound effects and stuff, and special effects, and we'd mail it to them. You know, so it was a fun thing. And the people who did it, literally, I mean, one family, I'll tell you a quick one. This fellow really loved old Western stuff. His teenage kid didn't, right? But the teenage kid got into it when he figured out that he could kill his father in the movie. And when they went home, the kid had so much fun, he convinced his father to join a reenacting group, Old West reenacting group. And the last time I talked to them, they were watching old Westerns together.
Yeah.
You know? So it really had a wonderful effect on people.
Wow.
You know, it was really good.
Huh. So that must have been where the idea came from for the movie.
Well, as we were making more and more short movies, we said, you know, wouldn't it be fun to make a feature-length movie? And I had come up with an idea for a script years ago based on our reenacting group. I said, Darren, I've got a script. We've got the costumes, we've got the set, and other people we know have other sets, and so forth and so on. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go home and write the script, and I'll bring it into you, right? So I wrote furiously, Brandon, and I thought, God, this is really going to be great. I printed it out, came out 20 pages. We got a problem. So another year went by to get it up to 90-something pages, right? And that was a kick. That was really fun, you know, because you have to get into the characters and make them real, and that was a real fun exercise. That was great.
Did other people work with you on writing the script?
No, I wrote it myself.
Yeah.
Funny thing, it's like, I like collaborating, right? But that particular one, I knew the whole thing. And it was like, and I don't go show anybody until it's done because they'll give me ideas and then I'll get all screwed up and I won't know what to write, you know. So I did that one and I liked the way it came out and I was happy with it, right? And and then it only took us 4 years to film it, you know, because Darren works every other weekend, so we could only film on his off weekends.
And tell us a little bit about the process of filming specifically with the finances. Because I think that's, to me, when I heard about it and I saw it, I was really impressed with how it happened.
What happened is we live in an area with incredibly wonderful people. We have no money into the movie except for color correction and lunches. That's it. And the rest of it was purely volunteer on everybody's part. And so because it was for fun, people really enjoyed it. You know, they got to be in the movie, and they got to be bored sitting around waiting to be in the movie, right? And we fed them real well. That was the one thing everybody complimented us on, was that, you know, they liked being there. They got to eat all day, you know? So it was an unfolding process. It just went, I mean, considering it took 4 years, and in that, after the 4 years, and even during the 4 years, 5 of our characters died.
Wow.
I mean, so we've had, you know, we had bouts with cancer. We've had every conceivable thing that life can throw at you, and we still got it done. And the part that was the best, Brandon, is we didn't have one cross word with each other or one upset person ever, and that's unheard of, you know. And then these guys came up from Stockton and were in it, and one fellow says, "Well, I'm a musician." I said, "Okay, you're going to do the music, right?" And another guy who came to our casting didn't really fit any parts, but he called me up a couple days later and he said, "Could I send you a CD of my music? Because it's very hard to get people, you know, interested in your music." I said, "I got a better idea. Why don't you write a theme for us?" So I read him the script over the phone, and 3 days later he called me up and he sang me the song, right? And then we recorded it in the back of my van because the acoustics were pretty good, right? So, I mean, you know, everything we did was not the way you're supposed to do things, but we got it done.
Do you feel like you learned a lot from doing it that way?
Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon, we learned an incredible amount from that. But right now we're going through even more learning, and horrible learning at the moment. Absolutely horrible learning, because we just signed and sold it.
Oh.
Yeah. And the amount of paperwork that we have to do now is overwhelming. And there's time limits on it. And there's things we haven't got a clue what they're talking about to do. And I ran around all over Stockton today to take the releases to people, because the releases we had them sign aren't the company's releases, right? So I'm taking these things around all the musicians, and what they sent me were releases taking away their copyrights. And all of them just died, because what I had them sign was a release was that I got to use their music. They retained the copyright, right? So I thought, well, there's the end of our project. We don't have any music. And then I called up the company, and the lady said, "Oh, did we send you that one?" "Oh, we'll just send you a licensing act." "That's no problem. Here it comes," right? So I drove all over Stockton again, taking back all of the copyright releases, right? And it's been an absolute wonderfully, I'm going to say wonderfully because I'm a teacher and learning is supposed to be fun, right? It's been horrible. But what it does do is it gives us a way to do it next time.
Yeah.
We've got all these releases, and it's going, well, you're supposed to sign a release before you get involved, right? So what dates do we put in? That's my phone call tomorrow. And it's been incredibly interesting, and it still could all fall through. You know, we've basically got the month of June to get everything into them, and every day I think we're not going to make it, you know, because we don't know what we're talking about. One of the couple of things we have to do. We had an agent before who didn't do anything with the movie, and we thought, okay, that's it. We'll make DVDs and give them to everybody, and we're done with it. And this fellow phoned up and said, "I'd like to represent you." And I said, "Sure, okay, you know, this is going to go nowhere also." And long story short, he called back a week later and said, "Okay, I got your deal," right? And I said, "Okay, great." And he said, "You're not going to make a lot of money." He said, "But like," and this was his way. He said, "You know the old expression that heroin dealers tell you the first shot's free? Well, this company's telling you basically your first film's free, but because you're going to be associated with them, it will do well for you in the future," right? It's like, okay, you know, I'm just happy somebody wants it. And So anyway, we're excited. If we can get it all done, we're in. If we can't get it all done, it was a great exercise. You know.
Can you reveal at all who you sold it to, or how it's going to be released, or anything?
Well, I can tell you this. I can't really tell you the name of it, but I can tell you this: they're the biggest distributors in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we're not going to be on the big screen. That's not going to happen, right? We're straight to DVD and pay-per-view and all that stuff. But I don't care. It's, you know, it's like somebody was saying, like going back to the musicians with their copyright thing. My thing is like, you want my movie? You got it. You can do anything you want with it. I don't care, right? I have absolutely no concern once I turn it over to you. You want to cut it differently? Go ahead. You know, it's like Darren and I were laughing the other day. We were saying, God, we're just going crazy trying to satisfy these people and get everything done. And we were laughing. We're saying, yeah, before long we're going to be saying, hey, we might let you handle our next film. Right? You know, we had to do something to keep our spirits up. But no, it's a great deal, and we'll see if we pull it off.
Now, we don't have much time left, but so what's the next thing? I know you guys worked on The Missing.
We've got The Missing, and we've got one more couple little tiny short things we had to wait for the grass to turn brown, right? So we could do, and then that's done. And then we've got another one that we've been working on called The Light, and then I've got a script that I'm trying to peddle, and that's why I like the fact that we're going to have a track record, because I sent the script off a year ago, and did the script query letters, right? And what they say is that they're not going to contact you if they're not interested, right? Well, the height of success at that point was I got 2 personal rejections. Well, I was pretty impressed, right? People said, I like the idea, but we don't do that kind of movie, and I like the idea, but I'm booked for the next 9 months, get back to me after that. But what the query letter tutorials say is, if you have a track record, that's the first thing you put up there, because people will look at you. You've got your foot in the door, right? So we'll see. We're just playing around with all sorts of stuff. You know, it keeps us busy.
You know, I heard a story about a screenwriter, the guy who wrote the Memoirs of the Invisible Man with Chevy Chase. That was the only screenplay that he wrote that the studio had bought and actually made into a movie. But the studio, because he, was a great writer, were always optioning his scripts and writing his scripts, and had bought so many scripts, but that was the only one that actually got made into a movie because he had built a name. He'd gotten there. So even if your movie doesn't get distributed, the fact that you made those steps and you're trying to get it, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, the fellow who's our agent, his thing, I said, do you handle scripts? He says, no, I don't touch them. He says, but you're not going to have a problem because of your association, He said, people will look at it. If it's any good, they'll pay attention to you. If it isn't any good, guess what? They're not going to pay attention to you, right? So we'll find out if it's any good soon, I hope, right?
Well, Jim, thank you very much for being on the show. It was a wonderful time talking to you.
All right.
And thank you for watching our show, and I'll see you next time.